Well, as the MSP conundrum continues, there seems to be no breakthrough between the farmers and the government. Dialogue seems to be the only way forward. We get you the voices that truly matter. Well, I come to you from one of the top policy institutes of the country, the Indian School of Public Policy, and I'm joined by some young scholars who are studying public policy, and we'll get you their voices. What do they think about the MSP conundrum? How should the government be going about it? What is really the way forward? Let's get you their voices, and they're all young students about to graduate, and they all are very opinionated about this. So let's start with you. Your name?
Dipesh Shukla.
So, well, we've been seeing this MSP battle really play out on the fields, on the streets of the national capital in the past 1 week. What do you think is the way forward?
I feel like the particular demands by the farmers are too rigid at this particular moment, and certainly about the MSP for all the crops, which is not always feasible. But there's certain things that farmers do need, and the condition of the farmers is not always as suitable as we see in news. So, okay, this protest has some pros and cons, and way forward is to actually, maintain harmony as much as possible and not let it, digress as it had in the past.
Right. So, two very important points that you made. One, that one size fits for all. That approach perhaps may not be the best approach. And secondly, the farmers also perhaps need to be more flexible, because as many economists have also pointed out that this could potentially be a fiscal disaster as well. Let me get in some more voices. Your name?
My name is Harshita, and I see this situation via two lenses. So first is the short term. Like immediately there is a need for conciliation. Maybe a representative body can be formed. People from the various stakeholders should come forward. Maybe the economist can come forward. Maybe the farmers can come forward, and the government can also come forward. And this should be ensure that communication happens very properly and in a language that everybody understands.
Spoken like a true policy expert here. So, like, there should be a forum, is what she says, and there needs to be representatives from all backgrounds to really sort of brainstorm it out. Would you agree with this approach?
Yes, sir. Definitely, we need approach that where we can have more communication with the farmers. And before making any policy, it's very important for talking to all the stakeholders. And when we talk about the farm,
Stakeholders, as in what? Who all are the stakeholders according to you?
the small farmers, all the union that we are talking about, the economists, as well as the people who are directly and indirectly impacted. For example, APMC Mandi people as well.
Yes.
So I think somewhere the link was missing when these reforms were pushed by the government, and now I think the government is on the right track. They are communicating well, and now I think the things can go forward.
Because there are many stakeholders, aren't there? Because you have to, of course, factor in the market forces as well when you go about it. As a public policy student, it is easier said than done. But do you think the government has some alternatives at their disposal to placate the farmers? Because the farmers say by that MSP is our demand. MSP is our right, and it will give us some sense of freedom as far as crop choices are concerned. It will give us some fiscal autonomy as well. What do you think are the options before the government?
Hello, my name is Subrat. Well, if I look from the perspective of the government has different alternatives. First of all, why the issue of MSP? Because the farmers are too much reliant on wheat and rice. Because of that, the market has a surplus right now. India has a surplus right now of wheat and rice. But we are not exporting that. We are not processing it to make a more agro-based industry out of it. So that's why the need of MSP is required by the farmers right now. If we can diversify the crops, if we can put more emphasis, more incentives for crops like maize, crops like millets, the government is trying to push millets. Millets can be a gift from the God for the farmers, because the farmers in Punjab and Haryana, they have the problem of water table getting down. They have
Reduce the problem of stubble burning as well if they diversify.
Yes. So millets will be a very good example of how they can diversify their crops. Also exporting the food, processed food from the wheat and rice and maize, that would be a great boon, because the export market will rise and the farmers will get a better price.
So, two important points: crop diversification, of course, and also incentivizing farmers. You have to give them some incentive somewhere. Would you agree? And how, do you think there's a sort of a communication breakdown? Now, of course, the government is working towards it with a series of meetings. But do you think that sort of communication gap, that breakdown exists?
Yes, I totally feel there's a communication gap because a lot of times people don't know what are they protesting about, and sometimes it also happens that they know what they're doing, but they're not very sure what government is doing. So there's a gap, and that can be eliminated by dialogue and a different kind of approach which can be followed. As in farmers don't know what they can get through it, because if they get incentives, if the farm laws are done, so they get market access and they'll get a lot of incentives which can be helpful for them in long future.
And even when prices plummet, that is what, even in times of crisis. So farmers say that in times of crisis, an MSP would be an assurance to us. So at such a time when prices plummet and there is that sort of distress, what do you think the farmers have as an alternative? If you don't offer MSP, saying that it's perhaps could be a fiscal disaster, what are the other options that perhaps farmers can look at?
Well, I have a very simple take.
Yeah.
Agriculture represents just one section of the economy. We have various sectors: industrial, service, and agriculture. Let the market forces play in agriculture sector also. The productive farmers will remain in the market, and the unproductive will get out and get into service or industrial sector.
Okay. So that's a rather many would call it a rather bold or radical step to take.
You need to take steps that's good for the overall economy, not just for the section of economy.
Very interesting there. Actually, not an argument many would make in the public domain. Would you agree with what he said?
Yeah, certainly. Like as he said, we have many people employed in agricultural sector. So when we have this much people, economists are calling it as the disguised unemployment, where you cannot sustain the sector with this much people, because we need to come up with various solutions, like involve people in various sectors. For that, government needs to signal that agriculture is not the only viable option for these people. You need various sectors like industrial sector, service. You need to diversify the sectors. So that's the...
Perhaps give them an opportunity to sort of look at other sectors, industrialize, rural areas more as well. Let's get in more voices from here. What is your take on this entire conundrum?
Actually, being from a family whose my father is actually from a farmer background. So what I see is farmers do need help. As in, there's a lot of cost when they're producing agriculture and everything. But I also feel that the economical impact that they have, like what they are demanding, can have a severe impact on the economy. So what I believe is that we need to find a middle point as to how much we can...
Elaborate more on this severe impact on the economy that you talk about, because many say that this could cost a lot to the state exchequer, but elaborate a little more on that.
See, what they're demanding is they're demanding a daily wage, pension after for the 60-year-old farmers are above that, and plus they are demanding a 50% cost of production. That is, let's assume that the total cost for the producing is 100 rupees, right? So what they're demanding is they get 150 rupees back from after selling these products. That's not a well thought argument, because I understand that they need the money, but getting all that, you are actually asking for a lot of money, and the economical impact, as in 5 trillion of the 5 trillion money that is given, and 2.88 trillion is given for supporting these MSPs, and 1.88 trillion is given for the fertilizers. If you look at these numbers, I understand that they're not being very helpful as of now, but if we just give them the money straight away, then
It's not sustainable. It's not an economically sustainable proposition to perhaps implement, a legal guarantee for MSP. And you also made that point about looking at it from a long-term lens. But also, I would expand the conversation to other demands as well. They're also talking about increasing the number of days under Narega. So, do you think that it's got a lot to do with agrarian distress as well?
I believe that agrarian distress is the main root cause of everything. I come from Punjab. I have seen how dependent it is on agriculture, but agriculture in itself has a lot of issues because of the gaps. Like every year, the demand and supply sometimes don't match. And because it's a perishable good, a lot of people would not give the price, how would I say, would not give the price as much as,
The rightful price, perhaps.
Yes, rightful price. And government try to correct that using, say, MSP.
Right.
But MSP itself is not a sustainable approach. They gave that MSP for some years, but now the because agriculture now has seen that, that has gives some profit out of it, but now over the years that they need something different to.
All right. So MSP perhaps can be a short-term measure, but not something that can be totally relied upon in the long term. I think also, talk to us about MSP as an economic idea. Do you think it's good economics or bad economics? As a policy expert.
MSP as an idea is certainly good economic idea because it gives assurance to a farmer who is doing his economic activity with a lot of uncertainty. And therefore, MSP gives that certainty to the farmer while doing that economic activity. But from more perspective of a policy angle, we have to look at how much the MSP will help the farmer and how much that will go into the subsidy of a consumer, and therefore there has to be balance between both the farmer and the consumer side of MSP.
Okay. You wanted to make a point? Yeah.
So I think if we see the root cause of the problem, then it is not about the procurement or the MSP. It is about securing the income for the farmers, right? And the alternative for that, MSP cannot be any solution for it. I think the alternative could be, as experimented in Madhya Pradesh, that is the market price difference compensation, right? So the government can say, okay, we are giving you a price and you can sell it to the private owners as well, private market as well. And if in case the private market exploits you, if it pays you less amount, then we can compensate you over this. And that would be a viable solution for the government as well as, and it will be a win-win situation for the farmers as well.
So protectionism cannot be the solution, but intervention when needed. That is what is important. You also want to come in?
Yeah, so the basic problem that I identify is agriculture as a sector has 45% of population of India engaged in it, in direct or indirect ways, but it contributes 16 to 17% to the GDP. So already we see a mismatch there. So we cannot have 45% population under subsidy and subsidized by the government and their income secured by the government. That would be a big economic disaster for the economy. But we can have them transition to other sectors, or even if they don't want to transition, then we can provide a better infrastructure, better market facilities so that they can procure their inputs and sell their outputs at a good cost without the government intervention.
Okay, so many interesting points have been made there. I'll quickly end with a rapid fire of sorts, if you like. I'll start with you. In just perhaps one line, tell us what is the way forward, because the standoff continues between the farmers and the government. It's people like you who can actually tell us where we should be headed.
Take everybody's input. Nobody should be left behind.
Great.
Improve the existing systems before you demand a newer one.
Sustainability for a longer time, that should be the way.
Okay.
A proper dialogue should be established between both the stakeholders.
Dialogue is key, yes.
I think reforms are required to make market linkages smoother for the farmers.
Reforms, okay.
Build the trust so that it does not happen again in future.
That's very important. The trust between farmers and government is key.
I think a free market with government regulations.
Okay.
Let the market solve the problem.
The market solve the problem. You seem quite rigid on your point.
Yes. Understand the root cause and design a sustainable solution for it with a long-term view.
Okay. And the last word to you.
Focus on agri-food processing industries to reduce the uncertainty from the farm income.
Okay, fabulous. So those are the voices that you need to hear. Some absolutely incredible points made there. Extremely articulate voices there, from crop diversification to incentivizing farmers to, of course, talking about dialogue, because that is really the only way forward. At the Indian School of Public Policy with my camera colleague Gauri Prasad, Vedant for NDTV.